Hello, and welcome to Carrier Code, your inside track to the strategies, stories, and leaders driving the trucking industry forward. Today's episode is brought to you by Driver's Legal Plan, the nation's leading CDL defense law firm, and produced by Bulldog, trucking's podcast pros. I'm Christy Choice, here with my co-hosts Justin Copeland and Rocco Marrari. How are we doing today, guys?
Hey, doing great, Kristy. Just looking forward to finally getting this thing going and taking this podcast and out to the people.
Hey, guys. Oh, my goodness. It's been a long time coming. Hey, Rocco, what you got for us?
Excited to be here. Like Justin said, it's been a long time coming, guys. We're ready to bring this to you and show you what we got.
Well, on this first episode, I know we kind of wanted to discuss like who we are, how we got here, and it is one heck of a story. What started off as a group project ended up like us looking at each other saying, hey, this is like a real thing. Like, let's move forward. And then with some amazing partnerships, here we are today, a few months later, but you know, we dream big, don't we?
Yeah. Would you ever thought this when we were sitting in DC, back in January, and we came up with this idea for the lead ATA project that we would be here today? I didn't. I'll tell you that.
I didn't either. I
didn't at first until we started talking. And then once we're sitting there collaborating, and I'll never forget that one moment where I think everything just kind of came full circle. And we're like, I think we can do this. I think there's something here. Not to mention all the little...
So we have to fill in the blanks for some folks, right? So what started off as a group project, we were in lead ATA. Okay, Justin, Rocco, like, let's make this story make sense. Justin, you go ahead and start.
Yeah, absolutely. So the three of us had decided to put in our applications for the lead ATA program here in 2025. And of course, we were accepted, very honored to have been accepted in the lead ATA program. And part of that is, working together, building your relationships and network with those that are in the class with you. And that was a great experience. Now, the three of us, we've known each other for years, so that was just natural. We were in DC in January, and we were there to do like a public speaking project, start talking about our group projects and our individual projects, things like that. And we circled up, we broke into our groups. Naturally, three of us were going to be together. And I think it took, like a minute, Rocco, for us to decide, hey, we're going to do a podcast. This is what we're going to do,
And that might be a stretch. I think it was probably within the first few seconds, knowing, all three of us and our personalities. I'm like, this is what we have to do. This makes sense. And I think it started, we were going to call it, Let's Make Trucking Sexy Again. If I recall, that's how this started.
Oh my gosh, Rocco, I forgot all about that moment.
Too.
We were going to do a play on Justin's name, right?
Yeah.
And we're bringing sexy back.
We were.
Yep. Yeah. I completely forgot about that.
Well, let's be really thankful it didn't go down that direction.
Yeah, I like the name Carrier Code Podcast a lot better than that one.
And I recall the look on the instructor's face when I mentioned that this is what we're doing for our project. And it was really nice. Everybody else had some fantastic projects and ideas as well, that came from that program. So I thought that was really neat. And then, just to see what those guys are going to do with it. Are they going to take it a step further as well? That's what's really cool about that lead ATA program too. What can you do from there?
Absolutely. Well, think about one of the projects, and I only say this because it is so relevant now. The focus on the English language proficiency. Now that has got the biggest spotlight inside of transportation that could possibly get on it. And they were talking about this back in January and then presenting it in May. And I mean, it is a much more important topic now than when they picked it. But it was something that they saw as a need and to put their project forward. So yes, I agree with you that there was a lot of really good projects that we had seen and were presented there at the mid-year management session in Scottsdale.
Yeah, it was, just to see what everybody came up with and, the time and effort everybody put into it was really refreshing. You could have went in here and just threw something together, but everybody put something that was relevant to a need within the industry, and not one was the same as the other. And I thought that was really cool. With, all the different people that we have in our group, I can't remember how many we have. We have a good amount, but each group had a different idea that could better the industry. And that's what this is about.
Yeah.
And that's
Absolutely.
what I really took from that.
Yeah, we were tasked with picking one topic that we wanted to really dive deep into, a challenge, a topic, and we wanted to create a solution for it, right? And instead of just picking one topic, we picked a medium that could transcend topics and said, hey, if we do a podcast format, this is going to resonate with multiple audiences. We can get creative with it. We can have fun. I think personally, I am tired of being bored when I go to conferences and events. Like, we can infuse a little bit of life and levity into the ways that we convey a message. And so I think when we sat there and we were like, oh, podcast, it was less about a singular topic and more about, again, how can we make the most impact in our industry, something that's absolutely needed. And of course, the other groups took different directions as well. I think it was all fantastic. But after we kind of came up with what we would do and the topic that we would first cover, which was personal conveyance, it was really cool. We picked Justin's brain and he had an opportunity to shine. We presented in front of the judges. But we looked at each other and we were like, wait, this could be a thing. Like, this isn't just like for a project. Like, this is going to be real. And then every step along the way, we made a couple of announcements and people were like really excited. And we've received nothing but overwhelming kudos, congratulations, love, support, just from everyone. And so I think that's something that has really, really stuck out to me about the industry. There wasn't anybody saying, oh, well, guess who's doing this or that, or any naysayers that I know of.
Yeah, we haven't heard him yet.
Yeah, we have not. Everybody's been so, just so supportive of this endeavor. And so we're here. Yeah. Our first episode, teaching you a little bit about who we are and how we got to this point, and we're excited to just continue to dive in.
Yeah. Guys, I mean, I have to thank Bulldog Productions here because this was a lot bigger undertaking than I would have ever imagined. And if it wasn't for those guys, we'd still be probably figuring out what we're going to do. So I got to give those guys a huge shout out because they've really, really taken a lot of this off our back. So we appreciate it, guys.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
Sure. They're not trucking podcast pros for nothing, right? They have definitely helped us with this. We would have been recording on Zoom and it wouldn't have been fantastic.
Editing Let's just be ourselves and trying to figure it all out. And instead, we've got some amazing people from Bulldog Works that are working behind the scenes to make everything that you guys see today happen. And that all started following out of that mid-year management session in Scottsdale. We immediately went up to 10 Streets User Connect. And we're there, and I think it was maybe the second day sitting there having lunch. And I've gotten to know Grant Stanley just over the last couple of years at conferences and stuff. He's a great guy to talk to and stuff. His brain just works a little bit different than the rest of ours. And, it just sitting here and I'd shared with him, hey, this is what we did for our project. And we had so much fun with it right after presenting it and getting so much positive feedback that we decided we're going to do this. And he really just at that moment was like, hey, I'd love to work with you on this. Okay, sure, no problem. And then he wasted no time. We were back home post conferences, and he reached out. We got this thing rolling and started talking about the relationship between us and Bulldog Works, and it has been a great relationship so far.
Yeah. And I think through the process, I have learned that we started with very little structure in mind. I think that the three of us really can have great organic conversations. And we're like, hey, if we're just talking, how much prep do we need to do for some talking? Right. Mm-hmm. But from the conversations that we've had, it forced us to really organize our thoughts in a way that's going to be helpful to all of the Carrier Code podcast listeners out there. So, the structure and the purpose, we're going to be releasing episodes every single week. And really the purpose is to shed a light on a lot of the topics in the industry, whether it be, safety, retention, recruiting, training. We could talk just about anything, but also highlighting the people behind all of the topics that you see floating around. I think we have a lot of thought leaders who we have access to, and we can't wait to really like bring more guests on and have some insightful discussions. And also, it's not just for people who are in the industry. You may be industry adjacent and just want to get some exposure to all things trucking. And this Carrier Code podcast is where you're going to do it.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. I mean, the content we're going to bring you guys are, some future topics that we're talking about are going to be National Truck Driver Awareness Week or Appreciation Week. Sorry. And we'll certainly be doing an episode on that and talking about that and what the successes or what to do to have a successful Appreciation Week for your drivers, ensuring that they feel the love and appreciation of what they do for your company. But we'll talk about other topics. Of course, recruiting, retention, those, especially retention is a hot topic right now. You're trying to keep those that you got and you want to keep them happy and you need to hear them out, as well as safety, training, some technology, and like Kristy had said, some leadership. We're going to have folks that lead organizations, whether they be motor carriers or certainly on the allied or vendor side, to be able to speak about why they have a passion for what they do as well.
Yeah, guys, and we've been talking about guests here. We're going to bring guests that make a difference to you. We're going to talk to, as Kristy and Justin said, thought leaders, really the movers and shakers within the industry, the people who you want to listen to, who you're used to talking to at conferences or at different events. We're going to get controversial. We're not going to sit here and just be the same old podcast that you're used to. If somebody has a differing idea from the majority of the industry, guess what? We're going to bring them on. We're going to find out why they feel that way and see what happens and see, how we can really make change and drive change within the industry. And that's done by bringing guests that you guys want to hear, that you want to see, and that really relate to our industry as a whole.
Yeah, I can't wait to see where we grow organically, right? We have a really great idea in mind of what this is going to be, but this is definitely going to be a wild ride, and I cannot wait. It's going to be so great. So we've talked a little bit about the structure and the topics and teased a few of the guests without naming names, but it's going to be really great. You're going to want to tune in every single week. But when we come back from a short break, we want you to know who we are and our stories of how we got into the industry, what keeps us in the industry, and a few fun facts that you need to know. So this is Carrier Code. Stay tuned for more in just a moment.
Carrier Code is sponsored by Drivers Legal Plan, CDL ticket defense for professional drivers. Hey, Justin from Carrier Code here. I'd like to thank Drivers Legal Plan. They protected my CDL while I was out there on the road. They can protect yours too. It just takes a phone call. It's only $2.98 a week, and they will help protect your CDL. Contact Drivers Legal Plan today and let them defend you like they have me and more than 400,000 other cases. When you need CDL ticket defense, there's only one, Drivers Legal Plan. Call 1-800-580-8789 or visit driverslegalplan.com for your free consultation. Again, that's 1-800-580-8789 or driverslegalplan.com.
Welcome back to Carrier Code Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Christy Choice, joined by Justin Copeland and Rocco Marrari. And today we are talking about how we got to this point. You are listening to one of our podcasts. And so we kind of wanted to bring you along on this wonderful journey that we're experiencing. But we are talking trucking after all. So I guess we do need to answer a few questions about how we got into trucking. Who wants to go first? Justin, you want to go?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take this one. I've said this to you guys before, and I'll continue to say this. These are the origin stories that I love to hear about, because so few of us took this path, like out of college, or maybe even earlier than that. Right? You're sitting in high school and you're like, oh, family lineages in trucking. I'm gonna stick with it. Usually, you see a lot of those people go the other direction and they don't want to. But mine is not super unique in the fact that I found myself in this industry. I'd gotten out of college, and my degree is in criminal justice, law enforcement. I was still working as a reservist for a sheriff's department here in Michigan, and Michigan experienced their first economic downturn at that time. And so my actual paying job, I was in the trades. I got laid off. I was, nobody was building homes or doing any of that kind of stuff. So I got laid off, and certainly the sheriff's department was happy to get that free work from me because as a reservist, I wasn't getting comped, but trying to get my foot in the door. And back then I saw in the classifieds, get your CDL. And I remember telling my partner back then that I'll do it for maybe 6 months and then the departments will start hiring again, all of that stuff. Well, what is it? 3 years later, they finally started hiring again. Well, at that point, I was making great money. We were looking to start maybe potentially having a family, all of that stuff. So it just didn't make sense to get out of trucking and nearly take a 50% pay cut to get into law enforcement. And certainly now 22 years later, I look at it and I go, man, I'm really glad I made the decision that I did, both to join the industry, but also to stay in the industry. And yeah, I was a truck driver for nearly 9 years before I got my opportunity to get out of the truck, and worked briefly in operations before I was approached with the possibility of getting into safety. And I've been in safety / recruiting training kind of a deal for 11 years now. So 11, 12 years in this side of the business. How about you, Kristy?
Well, I am on the allied side of things. I work for a vendor, 10th Street, whoop, whoop. And I love what I do. But how did I get started? Well, I've been in software for close to 20 years. My oldest son is almost 21. And so that was like right around the time I became a mom and needed to figure out things with my life. But I lived in another state. I was working for a software company, and I just really enjoyed kind of understanding technology, right? And so when I relocated to Oklahoma, the state where I currently live, I was like, how can I take the experience that I have and make a living here? I knew that I had a lot of skills that translated, but I just didn't know what it would look like. And so I was in the healthcare industry before and had really, really great success. But so, of course, I was looking for jobs in, similar to what I had been doing. They just were not fantastic roles, just being honest. And I was like, okay, how can I live off of this? I can't. Right. And so I started looking into other ways that I could use the experience that I had gained over the years. And so the opportunity came up to work at 10th Street, which the recruiter described it as the Google of transportation. And I was like, how
Fitting.
so?
Oh.
And it's yes, exactly. And I was like, tell me more. And so initially, I interviewed for like a sales role, and I met with the internal recruiting team at 10th Street, and they were like, yeah, no, you're not a salesperson. I was like, yeah, no crap, I'm not a salesperson. But
You're a people person.
I am a people person. That's exactly right. And so throughout the interview process and even kind of getting started, I was at a crossroads, and I was like, do I want to go with what I don't know in a new industry that has its challenges and learning curve, or do I want to kind of stick with where I am and be safe? Now, I had already moved across country, so I was like, well, I'm already taking risks. I might as well just jump into a new industry. And close to 8 years later, I'm really, really glad that I did. My role at 10th Street has changed a couple of times, but I get to do really, really meaningful, insightful work. And I enjoy every single day. Right. The industry is just so vast, and it's so beautiful, right? And this trucking industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry running right under our noses. If you don't really know it, it's just a truck. But now that I can't unsee what I've seen now, right? So from the regulatory updates to the people and the drivers who make everything happen, and the vendors who are helping push things forward alongside carriers, I've fallen in love, and that's just what it is. So never been on the carrier side, but I feel like I kind of have.
Kristy, I got to say, we've known each other a few years now, and you're right. Your role has changed at 10th Street. I mean, I remember, when I finally started working with you, through the account management team and stuff. And I remember you as Coach Kristy, and, kind of being that safety, leader there at 10th Street and some of the products that they were trying to develop to where you are today. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's been amazing. I'm kind of in a role now where I'm one of one, working on the professional services team, managing the client success features and aspects of all things 10th Street. And I love it because every single day is different. And I like to say it like this now: all 10th Street clients are my clients, right?
There you
So
go. There you
I don't
go.
have any, you know, parameters with who I can help. And that makes my job so much more impactful because I can go where I'm needed. And in this industry, we know it's less about what you know and it's more about who you know and who cares to help make things happen for you. All right, enough about me. Rocco, jump on in there. How'd you get into
Oh,
trucking?
all right. Well, mine is kind of like the path Justin took. Right now, I'm on the vendor side, so I work for Pedigree Technologies, much like Kristy. And my path was not direct into trucking. Let's put it that way. So I was a police detective and a police officer for 15 years, and I worked a lot of highway interdiction. So I got used to the safety side and so forth, and DOT regulations, and dealing with truck drivers and everybody in that space. So there came a time where I was like, man, I'm ready to just be done with this. It's a young man's sport, and young man's job, and I was getting a little bit older. Just to take a step back, when I started, we were making like $10.45 an hour, $10.50 an hour. So it's been a little while back, but I saw some applications that were out there for account management positions with my former company, EBE Technologies, and I applied for the national account manager position. So I went in and spoke to the owner and at that time the vice president, and they interviewed me and said, well, Rocco, man, you don't have any sales experience, and you're going to be here, and this is kind of a sales role, kind of not. And I just stopped and I said, guys, listen, I sold prison. Said, if I can sell prison, this is going to be a piece of cake. I said, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He goes, well, what about if people tell you no? And I just stopped. And you know how dogs like cock their heads sometimes and they look up.
Yep.
And I said, people wanted to like shoot us in my previous profession. I am perfectly fine with people telling me no. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. That's going to be a piece of cake. So I actually got hired a couple days later, and then really started enjoying the industry. Law enforcement, if you guys are familiar with it, is a big family. I mean, it truly is. It's a huge family, and trucking to me felt the same. It was a big family. It's a very small big family is the best way to put it, because everybody knows each other. So you got to make sure you take care of. You can't do something wrong without anybody else finding out about it. So, you got to make sure you take care of each other. And it's that family atmosphere that I really liked. And then I started getting more and more ingrained. So I started, going to conferences and really becoming part of associations, and then taking that a step further and getting on different boards and getting different certifications to really ingrain myself into this industry. And I can tell you without a doubt, this is the best industry to be in. I've met so many great people. I've made so many lifelong friends. It is just an industry that once you're in it, and I'm getting goosebumps right now. Once you're in it, you're not going to leave. I'm telling you guys all, I've been in it now, almost going on 13 some years. You guys have been in it for, longer than I have. And it's part of you. And that's what I really like about this. And, roundabout way, guys, that's how I got into trucking.
Yeah.
Wow.
I like how you, and I say this tongue in cheek to all the listeners, but your association of family and in law enforcement to transportation, which is very true, but also, I look at it as like, this is trauma bonding, but I do mean that tongue in cheek, but it is.
Yeah,
I mean, it's because we're in the trenches every day. The problems inside of transportation are unique from one company to another. They have their subtleties that make them a little bit unique, but we're all out here trying to do the same thing. We really are.
Every carrier has the same goal: deliver whatever they're delivering safely. They all go about it in different ways, which I think is so interesting. And that's going to be part of what we're going to talk about in this podcast, guys, is each carrier, again, has that one goal in mind, but the ways you can get there are so broad and vast. I think that's just something that's really, really cool.
Rocco teasing a future topic there, Kristy.
I know. I'm like, well, give it all away then, Rocco. Just go for it. Go for it. But it feels like, Rocco, you answered how you got into trucking, but also what you enjoy most about it. So, Justin, what do you enjoy most about trucking?
Kind of to lead in with what Rocco was talking about, it is the people. And I know that's so generic of an answer, but this is a people business. I mean, it is. Through the relationships that I formed with you two on the vendor side and others, but also the relationships that you have to work at and foster every single day with your drivers and then your staff as well. Developing people, trying to help them if you identify, things that they're strong at, put them in the best positions to succeed, things like that. But, it's probably the thing that I love the most is the people, is the interaction with them, the ability to not only learn myself from others, but to surround myself with absolutely fantastic leaders who see the opportunity as a manager to develop and grow people on their staff. And I think that is an important one. That's something that probably will be a topic at some point in the future. But I mean, you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with, and the company's only as good as the people that they choose to walk this path with. That really is the truth on that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that. And I guess we can't all say people. So if I were to answer the question, what do I enjoy most? I think I would have to say um, the challenges of the industry, right? I think even in my short time being in the trucking industry, I have seen so much growth, so much development, so much change, and it's swirling around us. I think it's trucking is just very conservative, and I have seen people really open their minds to new ways of doing things, new technologies, right? I will always say that trucking deserves top tier talent, and it's not this bottom of the barrel, I couldn't work anywhere else and I had to go be a driver, or I couldn't afford to do anything else, so I had to go work at a carrier. Oh no, we are actively choosing trucking. And I want more people to choose trucking. After seeing it and seeing all of the wonderful successes and the challenges, not just the challenges as they exist today, but as they are overcome, I can say that I'm in it for the long haul, right? And so that's something that I enjoy. Every single day is a little different. And I think that's why even this podcast exists. We are going to make it make sense. Two people can read the same set of regulations and walk away with two different interpretations, probably
Yep.
four different interpretations, if we're being honest, right? And we want to help make it make sense because the motoring public needs to be safe. We want to be safe. So our family wants to be safe. And so we do have that common goal. But yeah, I just really love the challenges and to see how much we've already developed and overcome. I think that's cool.
Kristy, I love that portion right there that you just said, because I always said, the industry is about 15 to 20 years behind everything else in technology, you name it. I mean, we truly are about 15, 20 years behind. We're catching up there. And one of the things I really enjoy on that is us three are seeing that change happen. We're part of that change. Everybody who's watching and listening
that change
is driving that change. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And they're part of that. And we're witnessing that in firsthand. So I think that's, again, something that I really, really enjoy about this, man. It's something it's a cool ride to be a part of.
Yeah. Kristy, you talk about those challenges and Rocco, you talk about the growth of the industry and things. And you're right. I mean, you're seeing this change, especially over like the last 8-10 years of just massive injection of technology, which then kind of, you alluded to, Kristy, creates more opportunity in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember all those years ago when I got into it, it was, are you a driver? Are you in operations? Are you in safety? Are you in maintenance? And then recruiting. And that's kind of just where it was at. But, of course there was always the finance and the admin and all that stuff like that, but it wasn't something, I mean, think about it. When were they ever advertising to get the next best person coming out of college to, step into an admin role and groom them up? But you're starting to see that happen now. Companies, motor carriers, technology companies like the ones that you guys work with, they are looking at that, and they are targeting, the next generation of those leaders and bringing them into the organization, exposing to them. You see it with what the ATA's got going on with the college program now. And, you see them bringing them in here, and you understand that it's, all the IT technology stuff and the different layers just around IT. I mean, there's so many more layers around that. And then again, in like the business development and business analytics side, that's huge, right? And yeah, you're seeing a lot more roles starting to become injected into the industry and have a bigger focus.
Yep.
Absolutely. And I love what you're talking about. Shout out to ATH Trucking You that Justin just talked about. But yeah, I think that it's everyone's responsibility, especially now that we're in transportation, to highlight all the wonderful things about the industry. There's good and bad and ugly everywhere you turn. And I think it's what we focus on and what we hold to. Right. There's lots of different approaches to challenges. But again, we wanted to create a forum of open discussion. Think about it like this. We go to lots of conferences and events, and we talk to lots of folks who are doing all this networking. And somewhere between the couch and the bar stool and the bottle or the drink that you're having, alcoholic or non, okay, let's just be for real, there are these conversations that start to bubble up. And it doesn't necessarily come from the person or persons who were leading the discussion, doing the keynote, or on the panel, or contributing to the talk. It's the people who are doing the job every single day. And so there's all these different perspectives that are happening. And I have fallen in love over the last couple of years with the conference travel and kind of being able to meet different people in the industry and kind of talk about things, because it has really challenged me and opened my mind to different perspectives. There are lots of like private fleets that are like, hey, that's not really an issue for me. They're probably talking from a perspective of a well-branded name. And drivers are like, oh, I want to work there because they know it. And then we have the opposite, which is, let's say, maybe a for-hire carrier, maybe small to mid-size, that are like, I'm struggling to get drivers. The perspectives are so different. And we talk about things, these topics, but they're so multifaceted, multi-layered. And I think we just need to cut through them and kind of talk through it, because that helps us to understand the industry better and the impact of regulatory updates and changes as they impact different segments of the industry. I know we weren't planning to go there, but I had to throw it in there because, again, that makes it so exciting to talk through.
That's what makes this great about our podcast here is, we're just going to talk about things, and we're going to, probably branch off in one direction or another because it's all interconnected. And that's honestly how the three of our brains work. So, strap in, everybody, because that's probably the direction of where you're going to see some of these conversations go. I mean, we're not lying about, we're going to talk about the stuff, Kristy, you just touched on. We're going to talk about the stuff that, while the conferences are going on, it's great. We do love going to the sessions. They have great information. A lot of people put a lot of effort into that. But man, a lot of the, what are you doing? How do we solve it? Sharing all that stuff. Man, that's at the dinners, and that's in the cocktail lounge and sitting around and just talking about, similar challenges or successes. And if you have a success to tell, everybody wants to hear about it and how you achieved it. That's where we love this industry, because we're always so willing and open to share, what we have learned, and certainly those things that we've been successful at.
All right. So here, I guess we get to switch gears a little bit and talk more about ourselves. Y'all, this is a little more difficult, right? To be like talking about me, right? Because I'm so used to talking about other people. But I guess we can share some hobbies that we enjoy. I will go first this time. I like to talk. Talking is my hobby. So this podcast is perfect. I love to chit chat and to talk. Sometimes with a goal in mind, other times really just I'm a verbal processor. I have to say it out loud because then it starts to really take shape and take form and make some sense. But in preparing for this question, I realized that I don't have lots of hobbies, and I probably need like a real one. I know people who crochet, or people who create art, or people who like to hike or jog or run and do fun things like that. And I can say I can participate in all of those things, but a bona fide singular hobby, I don't know that I have. Yeah. So there are
it's a good time to find one, right?
Yeah,
now that we're talking about
vulnerable moment.
Now you're gonna find something now. Now you're gonna find one.
Yeah. In my free time, right? What free time do I have? I guess podcasting.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But go ahead.
I love that.
Go ahead. Hobbies, guys. Let's talk about it.
All right. So of course I love traveling, and that's what part of what makes my job great is I get to travel. So I love that, and I love the experiences that you get when you're out on the road. I also love aviation. So I've got the opportunity to fly in the co-pilot seat quite a few times, and I am going to work on getting my student license here. That's something I really want to do. It's exciting. I have the book I've been studying, so something you guys probably don't even know. But yeah, so that's one of the things I truly, truly love. And my other big passion is honestly weightlifting and bodybuilding. All the way through college and my early 20s, I actually competed on the National Physique Committee. It was a great experience. And now that I'm old, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give it one more run. So I've been really focused on that and seeing where we can go. So I'm excited for that.
Old schmoed, whatever, Rocco. Oh my gosh.
Justin, what about you, man?
Well, obviously this is not going to be a surprise to either of you two, and especially Rocco. But one of my biggest hobbies, and it is a hobby of mine that I developed and picked up later in life. I was about 26 years old, but I'm an avid golfer. And it take a step further is my teenage son. He's grown up around it, and so he's into it. And he just finished his he played in his freshman year, and now he's going into sophomore year. And he's already talking about, I can't wait until wrestling season, but I'm really excited for golf season because he thinks he's made a lot of strides, and I do too over the summer. And as well as Kelly comes out and joins us. So it's a family thing for us. We love to do it. It gives us a reason to go out and spend, 4 to 5 hours outdoors, beautiful weather, getting a little competitive, and just spend some time together, listen to some music and just see who beats who and just has fun with it. So big fan of that. And, other than that, I'm an avid U of M, Michigan Wolverines supporter and season ticket holder. So season has started, and the games are on the schedule, and I am so looking forward to seeing Michigan take on Ohio State at the end of the season here in the Big House. It's going to be a lot of fun. Really big fan of that.
Yay, sports!
See,
that's
Kristy,
about as far as I go. We
gotta get you into golf.
Yeah.
Trust me, when Justin and I are on the course, it's a ball.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing. I have played golf before and I don't dislike it, but for people who take their game very seriously, I feel like I don't want to get in the way. I don't, because it's like you're really like trying. What's the golf game called when you do like I think it's called a scramble, right?
Yep.
Where you just play off the best ball.
Can
do that. I can do that, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of asked because a couple of conferences that I've been to, there's like golfing attached to it as like a one of the events for you to participate in. So I've done that before, so I can identify with being out in nature. And I do love to travel, so I guess I do kind of have some hobbies, guys. Maybe I just need to take myself a little more seriously.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I think Rocco and I, we've talked about this. We don't mind playing with players of all skill level, and really it's. My biggest thing is if you don't play or practice or, put in any kind of time, just don't hold your expectations too high. Come out and have fun. We'll keep pace with the group in front of us. If I ask you to pick up the ball. But otherwise, we're just hanging out. We're spending that 4 or 5 hours with each other. Usually the weather is beautiful in most of the places. We're just enjoying being outside and not sitting in our hotel rooms or in our offices or at home on the couch. It just gets you something to get out and do.
Yeah, for sure. Staying active is really, really important. I saw something on social media recently that said, which one of these millennial habits have you adopted rather? And 2 of those, one was podcasting and one was golf. And I was like, dang, that hits this little Short Your Code podcast triangle. It was so funny.
Oh, man.
I was like, oh my gosh, true. Like guilty. Guilty as charged. Okay. Well, we want to wrap things up, but before that, I think we owe it to our listeners to share an interesting fact about ourselves. Justin, do you have anything interesting to share?
Yeah, absolutely. I do. It kind of goes on the heels of what Rocco was talking about, one of his hobbies being. So much like Rocco, through high school, 20s, and into my mid 30s, I was very big into powerlifting, bodybuilding. I didn't do shows, not like Rocco did. I had no desire to do all of that. I didn't have the physique for that, but I was just very much into lifting. I was into, played a lot of sports in high school and stuff, and certainly was a big power lifter back then. And I kept that up again, like I said, to my mid 30s. And then, unfortunately, the job just kind of didn't give me that opportunity to get in the gym as much as I used to. And then I also had an injury that kind of kept me out of it. And I remember it was, 2017 when I took an opportunity and moved out to the Phoenix area. And I remember when I moved out there, I was about 245 pounds. And I thought I was overweight then and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to start working out again. It's the sun, it's the desert. Everybody's going to be walking around with all these tan, hot bodies, this, that, and the other. Yeah, that didn't happen. It turns out that traveled a ton, ate out even more, played a lot of golf, and then we'd go out to eat all the time. And so my diet was terrible. Everything about it, I got the biggest I'd ever gotten. So moving back to Michigan, I looked back on some of the pictures just on that road trip coming back with my son, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so overweight. So I had to stay at my brother's place for like 2 or 3 days before my place was ready. And I remember I got to his place and in his bathroom, he had a scale. I didn't have one at my place in Arizona. So I jump on a scale and my eyes about just popped out of my head. I'm like, I've got to do something about this. Absolutely. So, it's been a long up and down journey, like pretty much everybody's weight loss journeys are. Is some successes, a lot of lows, and a lot of convincing yourself to pick it back up and keep going. And, I went from 317 pounds at my highest point now down to just right around 226 or so. So, for me, it's a weight loss journey. It's something that Kelly and I have been doing together. We're even getting my son into, the fitness side of things. Still not very successful at getting him to eat some green vegetables, but I get him to eat a lot of protein. So, but
That's all right.
just, that's an interesting fact for me is the long journey that it has been now almost 6 years of going through the weight loss journey and staying committed to it. And greatest thing is I've got a great supportive partner that is doing it with me, and Kelly. And so, actually she's lost double what I've lost. It's crazy. She's just done so fantastic in her journey, and very proud of her for doing it as well.
Oh man, that is so, so, so cool. And I love that, in the industry right now, we're talking a whole lot about driver fitness, but also like what we support for drivers that we know, like that first starts with each one of us, right? So I think that is super admirable. And like kudos to all of you all for your wonderful successes there.
Yeah.
Love that.
How about you, Kristy?
Oh boy. Okay, here we go again. Interesting fact. Well, okay, so an interesting fact. So I think that if you know me, if you follow me on LinkedIn, you know that I do lots of speaking engagements, right? And so carriers will, put on their own events and they'll ask for a speaker to come out. I present internally to the 10th Street team. And then I also, present at different like conferences and events and stuff. I really enjoy it. Probably because I like talking, but it kind of has some roots there. And so I have been a dually ordained licensed and ordained minister for a really long time. Right. And so it's something that is near and dear to my heart and my life and my family. And it's funny, the first time some people on my team heard me talk, they were like, oh my gosh, where did that come from? And I was like, I kind of been preaching all my life. You know what I mean? It's like, if you know what you're talking about, you know what you're talking about, right? It's so funny that, this experience has opened up doors for me secularly. And I really enjoy being a communicator. I think that all has so much worth and value in my life. And I just really enjoy it. So yeah, if you didn't know, now you know. Rocco, you are full of interesting facts. So I don't even know what you're going to say, but I just know that you're going to come with something. Tell us, Rocco.
All right.
What do you have for us?
So my parents are both first generation. I like to say off the boat, but they were on a plane, not a boat, but I like to say off the boat. So my mom came from Sicily. My dad came from Reggio Calabria, Italy.
Sorry.
It's a little joke we have.
Wait. You never know what to expect with you, Rocco.
I'm telling you.
I have to remember this is a video podcast, and I'm like, oh gosh, did he say that? Yes, he did.
But it's true. It's true. It's true. It's okay. It's okay. So, my dad worked, 7 days a week. He was a lead man in Nabisco, had his own business and rental properties and stuff. So what Italian families do is they go to the horse race track. So on Saturdays, that's what we used to do. We used to go to the races, and we go to the harness races at night. And growing up, that was like they were like my football players and baseball players that everybody saw as kids and their heroes. Mine were the harness drivers. So I said, God, I want to do this. So as I got older, early teens, probably freshman year, I didn't have a license yet. Met a trainer at I think it was at Sportsman's Park Racetrack at the time in Chicago. And he said, he goes, come up to Balmoral. That's where I have my stable. You come up here, start working on the weekends. I'll get you in some races, if you want to do that. So I remember my mom drove me up to Balmoral, Crete, Illinois. And I was probably, I don't know, at that time, an hour from the city. Remember, I'm a city guy. Okay. I'm not a country guy. So I get there, and the first thing he does is hands me like a pitchfork and says, now you're going to muck stalls. And I had no idea what that meant.
Oh, you learned real quick.
And let me tell you, horses, it's a job. It's a job to take care of this. But it was cool because I got to work around the horses and so forth, and got to start jogging them. And that was really fun. And then he said, okay, you've been doing this about a year and a half. Why don't you go apply for your racing license? If you pass it, then we'll put you in some races. So I went and applied, got my license. And I drove for harness races through high school up until I went to college. So I drove at Balmoral Park, Maywood, Sportsman's Park, Hawthorne Park. There's videos somewhere of some races that I was in just cruising around on the internet. So we'll have to try to find those at some point and put them on here. But yeah, that's something that not a lot of people know that I did.
Okay, Rocco, all I'm going to say, I got stuck on the mucking stalls because I've never heard this term. And I was going to ask you, is this Googleable, or will I come into contact with something?
No, you can go ahead. You can go ahead and Google that. GTS.
Okay. Mucking stalls. All right. It's on my Google list, y'all. Oh my gosh. Well, I knew you would come with something that we were not expecting for sure.
Rocco the harness racer. I would have never guessed that. I would have never guessed that.
The stall mucker.
And the stall mucker. I will tell you, I worked on horse farms and I've had that experience, and you're right. It's quite else. A messy situation. But I'll tell you what, I spent a summer baling hay. I would muck the stalls.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
You know what? It makes me appreciate what I get to do now. Let's just put it that way.
It's those experiences young in life that tell you, man, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to make sure I'm not going to be here the rest of my life.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Well, this has been such a fun episode to record, talking about who we are, how we got here, and what Carrier Code Podcast is all about. We talked about the structure and the purpose. We are here to make it make sense and to talk all things trucking. It's going to be really amazing to see how this all comes together. And we are so glad that you are here along this wild ride with us. This journey is going to be amazing. Now, we're going to have some really great guests too. We're going to talk all things networking. We're going to talk to our guests about their perspectives in the industry. And we want this to be a place where you can learn, explore, and grow as you really dive into more things in the transportation industry. Okay, well, I'm excited. for everything that we have coming up. And thank you again for listening. You can email us at knowthecode@carriercodepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback and for you to just cheer us on. If you have any topics or suggestions, you can email those to us as well. Again, the email is knowthecode@carriercodepodcast.com. Carrier Code is brought to you by Drivers Legal Plan, the nation's leading CDL defense law firm, and produced by Bulldog, Trucking's podcast pros. New episodes drop every week, so be sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you never miss an episode. You can listen on your favorite podcast platforms, watch on YouTube, or visit us anytime at carriercodepodcast.com. You'll also find us on all social channels at Carrier Code Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. This is going to be such a wild ride. And until next week, I'm Kristy.
I'm Justin.
And I'm Rocco.
And this is Carrier Code.